I want to see everybody. I'm seeing if I can see you all because I want to know who's here. I want to know who I'm talking to. Okay, that's great. Reverend Kathy always inspires me when she opens her talks with a question. So in her honor, I have a question for you. Are you happy?
Yeah.
Yes. Are you? Are you happy?
Yes.
If you're not, do you want to be happy? Yeah? Well, did you know that seeking happiness is not only a liberating experience, but that it's actually one of the surest paths to enlightenment? That's pretty cool. Michael Singer, who wrote The Untethered Soul, this is what he writes about that. Unconditional happiness is the highest technique there is. You don't have to learn Sanskrit or read any scriptures. You don't have to renounce the world. You just have to really mean it when you say that you choose to be happy. And you have to mean it regardless of what happens. This is truly a spiritual path, and it is as direct and sure a path to awakening as could possibly exist. Well, that sounds pretty cool to me. I mean, if you had to pick how you want to wake up, do you want to do it with all that discipline and having to, go into an ashram, or do you want to just be happy? And that was so perfect that we got to come into happy, okay? Well, there's a little bit of a problem, and the problem is that it was kind of tucked in the fine print in that little quote. You have to mean it regardless of what happens. So even if your husband dies, or even if you lose your job, or even if you lose your home, or even if you get a terrible diagnosis, you made a commitment to be happy. It's kind of tricky. But I'm here as proof that you can do that. So how can you be happy in the middle of what anyone would say is perhaps a tragic experience, or at the very least a very disturbing experience? And that's what my last year has been about, and that's what I want to share with you. Life gives us plenty of opportunities to have these things come in that we would prefer weren't there. But indeed, I'm here to tell you that everything is a gift. There are some ways that you can actually start allowing that acceptance of whatever is happening to show up in your life. And we're all pretty familiar with them, but I thought I'd just kind of run down a little list to maybe give you a refresher. So when something shows up that I'm going to call it tragic, and please understand that I understand that the emotional aspect in this, and that it's really a huge thing when we talk about a personal tragedy. And just that today I want to bring a little light on how you can look at it in a different way, and at the same time not limiting all that comes up when you're going through the process. So the first thing, when something shows up that you're judging as terrible, and you'd like it to be a little happier, one thing you can do is to stop resisting whatever it is. You may believe that losing your home is a tragedy, but events don't determine your happiness. What people think of you, what you think of yourself. Well, that might, but what other people think of you. Outside external events do not determine your happiness. So what happens when you resist the event is you just empower it, which is exactly what you didn't want to have happen. Another thing is to keep your heart open. When resistance, better known as fear, shows up, you have a choice you can make. And you can either recognize that a fear has come up around this situation, and you can attempt to understand it and release it. Or you can keep it and you can try to hide it. That works for a little while. The problem is your heart closes. And when your heart closes, you spend the rest of your life trying to avoid all those situations where that pain resides. Another way that you can be happy in the midst of tragedy is to pick your battles. You know, you may decide that losing your house is not the hill you want to die on. That indeed, you're prepared just to let that one go. So you can just relax, breathe, lean back, and just let it go. That is a choice. But the only thing I would tell you is make sure it's for real. Because if you're pretending, you got another wound that now you're going to spend your life trying to protect. The fourth thing on my list of tips is to forgive yourself. You know, when something happens that you didn't expect, you don't have like a set plan, and you're trying to learn as you go, and you're trying to really follow wonderful spiritual paths to get you back in alignment. And sometimes you slip, and sometimes you buy into the story, and the story takes you crazy places. So just forgive yourself, be kind. Connie, be kind to yourself, and just allow that forgiveness to have some meaning for you. Another thing you can do is to pay attention to your focus. You know, we ascribe a very, very narrow path to what is happy. I love what Michael Singer says. This is it. That which doesn't disturb me makes me happy. That which disturbs me makes me unhappy. Pretty simple. The thing is, if you can just kind of pull that focus back a little bit so you get a little bit more of a cosmic viewpoint. That's way back. But at least pull yourself out of that black and white thinking. And then there's one of my favorites, protection. Many times we make a decision when we're in the midst of a tragic situation to protect ourselves from the pain. The problem is that pain is conceived out of fear. And what is fear? Do any of you remember? So we take this tragic evidence, and now we're going to slap that right on it, that it's the truth. Okay? And then we start protecting that. There's another thing, another concept that kind of fit in with this that I wanted to share with you, and I love this. It is the story of the Taoist farmer. So I'm going to read you a story. There was a farmer, and he had only one horse. And one day that horse ran away. The neighbors came to console him over his terrible loss. The farmer said, "What makes you think this is bad fortune?" A month later, the horse came home, and this time bringing with her 2 beautiful wild horses. The neighbors became excited at the farmer's good fortune. Such lovely, strong horses. The farmer said, "What makes you think this is good fortune?" Sure enough, the farmer's son was thrown from one of the wild horses and broke his leg. All the neighbors were very distressed. Such bad luck. The farmer said, "What makes you think this is bad?" A war came, and every able-bodied man was conscripted and sent into battle. Only the farmer's son, because he had a broken leg, remained. The neighbors congratulated the farmer. "What makes you think this is good?" said the farmer. So is it our judgment that decides if a situation is good or bad? I would even go the next step, which is there good or bad? Because in my world, all is God and all is good. And the minute you start chiseling away at that, it just doesn't work for me. It's all good. Do you really think there would be a loving God who would send you horrible situations just out of meanness? Just because it's bad? I don't think that God wants us to suffer. The situations don't come for us to suffer. They come to wake us up. And you know, the ones that really appear to have the most suffering are really our greatest teachers. And I'd like to do a little experiment, especially since I see that Spring is in the room. I would like you to give me a situation that, and I prefer it made up, a situation that is tragic. Just give me an example.
Lost my lottery ticket that was $5 million.
Okay. That's a good one. So you lose your $5 million lottery ticket and you think that this is tragic. Well, I'm here to say that you have no idea what all that money was going to bring into your life. Indeed, it may be the most wonderful event that ever happened, that you lost that lottery ticket. That could be. So you can't prejudge it. Anything else?
My chickens got killed.
Oh, you're testing me. My chickens did get killed by the fox. Okay, give me a minute. I will find the gift. I will find the gift. You know, you live in a real world, and there are things that you need to be taking care of, and sometimes you get the lesson the hard way, you know? But it was a gift because all my future chickens will be in a very sturdy pen that the fox will not be able to get. And it was just part of that learning curve, you know, and I'm being kind to myself and forgiving myself for those chickens. Okay, give me another one.
My children died in a car accident. Oh.
Well, your children are fine. Your children are in a magnificent place. The problem is those of us left. And I'm here to tell you, I can witness to you, and probably you too, Randy, that the gifts that you get in experiences like that are unbelievable, if you can go there. If you can open up yourself to that, it is an unbelievable gift that you're provided. So, you know, situations that come up, it's really how we want to look at them. It's how we want to judge them as to how we're going to experience them and how they're going to impact our lives. I was thinking, I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember this or have been here long enough. There was a lady who came to this very spot about 25 years ago, and her name was Edwene Gaines. Does anyone remember Edwene? Yes. What did Edwene say? What was her little set? What did she always say? Come on, you can do it. Ain't it great? That's what Edwene would always say. That was, in fact, that was her lesson she did was, ain't it great? Which is the same thing as everything is a gift. My chickens were killed by the fox. Ain't it great? That's where you need to get. Because when you can see, when you get the ain't it great consciousness, you're knowing that everything that comes is coming as a gift. And that's the only reason why it's coming. You know, we're not here on planet Earth to get rich, although that's totally cool. And we're not here to find our soulmate and live in bliss, although that's totally cool. And we're not here just to exist and wait until we die. But that's okay too if that's your choice. We're here to wake up and remember who we are. That's the whole purpose of our journey. So everything that comes into our lives is coming to help us wake up. And one of the ways that we can wake up is through contrast, by seeing things differently. Do you remember this book, The Little Soul in the Sun? This is what it says on the back of it. And I love the very first line. In fact, which one is yours?
You can have the white one.
Thank you. Nerves. Not really. Once upon no time, there was a little soul. And this little soul knew itself to be the light. part of the gagillion lights that make up the whole of the universe. But the little soul wanted to experience itself as the light. And God said that if the little soul wanted to know the light, it must also know the darkness. For how else can you know up without down, hot without cold, fast without slow? Then the little soul understood that in getting to know who it really is, it would have to know the opposite. This is a great gift, said God, because without it, you could not know what anything is like. So the little soul embarked upon an adventure, and perhaps it is very much like the adventure that we all share on this planet we call Earth. So those contrasts, those tragic experiences are letting you know that is not what you prefer. And when you don't resist them, you can allow the gift to pop up. I mean, really, how would you know that you preferred joy if you didn't know sorrow? That you preferred love if you didn't know fear? You know, it's all a gift. And I think as we begin to get that ain't it great consciousness into our regular thinking, that it frees us up from that, the judgment of the tragedy. You know, I also remember something Louise Hay would say. Louise Hay said, if you would go up on the top of a mountain and you would look down in the valley at your life, you would see that it was all perfect. And you would see all the people that you need to meet all coming, and you would see all the dramas, and you would know that it was all exactly the way it was supposed to be. Marianne Williamson says something similar that really inspired me. She says, the mystic's first recourse when we are stressed is to take a step back and view the situation from a cosmic perspective. How do we do this when circumstances affect us in such significant ways? There's a kind of spiritual muscle we develop, which gives us the strength to visualize any situation surrounded by light and embraced in the arms of God. I want to read that again. There is a kind of spiritual muscle we develop which gives us the strength to visualize any situation surrounded by light and embraced in the arms of God. Our mystical power lies in knowing that any situation can be seen through different eyes, and that our choice to see a situation differently is the invitation for miracles to enter. God will do his part when we do ours. The work of resurrection is a continuous process, at work in all dimensions of time and space. Where there is lack, God's abundance is on the way. Hold on. Have faith. It's coming. Don't be like the farmer's neighbors and get that prejudgment jump on everything and then start, giving it energy. Hold on. Have faith. It's coming. And yes, it's not easy. The learning process can be extremely painful. I mean, you cry a lot. And sometimes you just wish you could just die because it's so hard. But that's exactly what it takes for some of us to wake up and crack open. And that's the gift. The fact that I'm standing up here in front of you is the most amazing gift. I mean, it's been a year of a lot of work, and just, I'm appreciating my gift. And when you go looking for that gift, I really like this sentence. I want to read it. When you go looking for the gift, avoiding the resistance, peeling off the protection, opening your focus, this is everything I was doing, releasing any premature judgment and just relaxing and breathing into it, you not only find the gift, you find happiness. It's difficult, but what you do to yourself makes a difference. What you do affects the next person, and it affects our community, and it affects our world. And as each one of us is able to look at life in a new way that allows us to see the gift, and not the drama, not the story, but why it came to us in the first place, it really makes a difference. I really like what Neil Donald Walsh has to say. This came on my computer a couple of days ago. Let's see where it is. Here. Neil Donald Walsh says this in closing. This is going to be your greatest spiritual challenge. It is going to require laser vision, unyielding strength, and uncommon courage. It is going to take deep commitment and extraordinary endurance. And it's going to ask you, of those of you who choose to truly work for the emergence of a new spirituality on your planet, to laugh in the face of almost overwhelming odds, and to know in your heart that your task is already done. It's just a matter of time. You may not be here in your present physical form to see its conclusion, but you will watch its conclusion nonetheless. I will call you to the moment when the moment arrives, and I will say, look what you set into motion. Well done, friend of the earth. Well done, friend of its people. Well done, friend of life and love and God. And so it is. That's it.